Hello, I'm Dr. Raedene Copeland, and I'm here to talk to you today about an active learning strategy that I implement in more of my content-heavy classes. This is a means for me to provide students with a study guide. Also, I use it as a form of extra credit so they're able to earn some points in a non-traditional way, a more fun way before their exams. So this is called a quiz bowl, extra credit quiz bowl. For you to be able to do this, you would have to assign a lab day on your syllabus, so you have the entire class period to get everything set up, and so it's not rushed. So usually it takes about an hour minimum, depending on how many questions you want to include in your study guide. How does this work? You create a PowerPoint with exam type questions that will, of course, be reflected on your exam. This can include multiple choice, true and false, fill in the blank. You can even have an essay question, though those tend to be a little more complicated, but it could be a short answer question. When you arrive to class, you ask students to get into groups. Once they're assigned to groups, right, or they self-select into groups, you ask them to choose a fun name for themselves. This actually sets the tone for a fun, active learning environment. They love this part of the exercise. They come up with some ridiculous names, and it makes it fun. Next, you ask them to assign a scribe. This would be the individual who is responsible for writing their answer for each question on the active learning wall. Next, you go over the rules with them. You tell them the type of questions that would be reflected in the quiz bowl. Then, you share with them the amount of time that would be allotted for each style of question. For example, for true and false questions, I usually just give them 60 seconds. For multiple choice questions or short answer questions, they usually get 90 seconds. Of course, to make it even more legitimate, you must have a timer. So at the end, there would be a buzzing sound. This is when students would know to write their answer on the board. One important detail is you can save time by having students raise their hands, or the scribe for each group raise his or her hand when their group has come up with an answer. Then you can have them write on the board. Now, they don't have to wait till the buzzer goes off. They can actually write the answer once all groups have decided on what the answer is going to be for that particular question. Another important detail to make learning fun and make it more interactive is having the Jeopardy music playing. Usually I go to YouTube, and they have like an hour-long Jeopardy soundtrack. So once that music starts, the game is on. They usually get really excited. So once you've set up the class environment, students are clear on the instructions, you reiterate the point that it is for extra credit, but only one group gets the extra credit point. I thought this was important, so you raise the stakes and you actually encourage students to learn and study the material before they come to class. If there's no extra credit attached to it, it's fun, it's a study guide, but I'm not sure that they synthesize the information as well. However, if only one group can earn the extra credit points, what I have found is that students typically study a lot more for the quiz bowl and perform better in exams. From a professor's standpoint, I always think of ways to manage my time more efficiently. Study guides, to me, basically, just sometimes, I'm not sure if they're always the most effective tool to get students to interact with the material, to give them quick feedback, because through the quiz bowl, you're able to reflect on each question after students have answered, and then they can ask questions like, okay, well, why was it that answer? And students from class chime in, and we discuss how you can increase your test taking strategies. For the students, I think it's fun. I mean, it's also fun for me, but it's really, really fun for them. I have gotten like positive and rave reviews for the quiz bowl. Even students who do not get the extra credit points, they're excited because it's a class assigned for this project, and they have fun and they feel as if, okay, they have gotten that time to prep for their exam. I have also found that it increases their competitiveness, right? So after the first quiz bowl, one group may win, but when the other groups feel the disappointment of not earning extra credit points, they actually become really competitive and they study more, and then another group may win the other time. And that makes me happy as a professor, because they're actually striving towards something and it's making testing and learning fun. An additional point for students is teamwork. And we all know active learning strategies are geared towards promoting teamwork in the classroom. So students, they have to work together. Like one student may be better at one module that is coming for the exam, and another student may be better at another module in that section for the exam, right? So with this exercise, they're able to benefit from each other's strengths. I also think it's really good for camaraderie, and it's good for new students or transfer students, or even students who feel that they have not connected with other students. This group activity allows them to bond. Usually in my classes, I keep the groups the same. Students can self-select and go to other groups, but usually I think they want to grow with each other throughout the quarter, and they start to click and they know how, they know who has strengths maybe in multiple choice, true and false, short answers, and I think ultimately they grow as a whole as students and build better bonds and share different test-taking strategies. I hope this was fun and useful for you. If you have any questions, I can be contacted at rcopeland, that is RCOPELAND, @spu.edu.